Bonjour mon petit chifle, Amber here, and welcome to my June read with me. I wasn't going to film this video, I was just going to read this month because I am still editing my read with me's since March. And also, we are almost 2 weeks into June already. And honestly, I still don't know if I'm going to actually vlog me reading this month. It might just be a casual, occasional check-in thing. But in case I do, I thought I should have an intro. So, last month in May, I read Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Brittany Etta Lodge and A Light to Bright by Samuel Miller, whatever. And I started reading The Power by Naomi Alderman. I finished reading this a couple days ago, and I don't have a ton to say about it. I didn't hate it. I also didn't love it. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. I feel like it had a lot of potential. I was, from the very beginning, very intrigued by the premise of the story, but I don't know, I was just never really fully able to get into the story or engage. I will say that there were a lot of thought-provoking or like, what's the word I'm looking for? That's not the word I was looking for. Poignant moments, but there also seemed to be too much happening at one time. At some points, I think there were far too many POVs, too many voices. So I gave it a 3.5 stars. And I am currently reading, where is it? Currently reading Call Me By Your Name by Andre Asselin. I am 61 pages into this book. I haven't read it all today. I've been watching Say Yes to the Dress all day. I also turned this into a crop top, so I've spent the last hour or so stitching up the hem of this new crop top. Felt very much like a Victorian housewife. So the rest of the plan for today is to get as much reading done as possible because I'd like to be finished reading this book by, what's today? Today is Tuesday. By like Thursday, because I still have 3 other books I'd like to read this month. This month I also plan on reading Dear Martin by Nick Stone, Dread Nation by Justina Ireland, and The Bells by Danielle Clayton. So we'll see. But like I said, I'm only 61 pages into this book. I'm reading it at the same time as Maggie. We're reading it together. I actually don't even know how far she's in. For all I know, she could be finished it. But I'm currently at the shorts incident scene. If you've seen the movie or read the book, you know what I'm talking about. If not, it's a lot. And I'm spending a lot of this book, like Elio, honey, calm all the way down, please. Get yourself a nice tall, ice cold glass of water or apricot juice because you are parched. Parched. This boy, my God. It's a lot more intense than it is in the movie. And if Timothée Chalamet said half the things that this version of Elio Perlman said, R.I.P. me. Hello, so today is, what month is it? June 13th. And I've been home for maybe like an hour or 2 now, and I'm honestly really exhausted and hungry, and it's almost midnight, but I just started reading some, and I just got to the part where, well, the scene by the lake, and then the scene where this before dessert part where Mafalda is clearing away plates and moves are being made, and I'm like, here we go. Now I feel like the story is like really taking off now. So that was weird. I realized, one, that I have a package that came the other day that I didn't show you and I was very excited about. But I also just got another package today that has nothing to do with anything, but I'm going to show you anyway. But the first thing just popped up on my doorstep. I was like, what is this? And because I didn't order it, and it's these really pretty fan art cards from Children of Blood and Bone. Here's Zelly and Inin and Amari. Nope, that's Zane. And my girl Amari. And these showed up because Tony is my best friend. Oh, I didn't know. I don't know if I mentioned this in my BookCon vlog, but then I realized I didn't vlog for BookCon. When I gave her, she had a few posters that she was signing, like a few that she was giving out, and then when I gave her the candle I made for her, she had like just run out of posters. So she said, she took down my address or whatever and said she was sending me one. So I got these and I'm still going to frame them because they're gorgeous. And with them were these little chocolates with the book cover, book art on them, and which means I don't want to eat the chocolate because I don't want to mess it up. But that was just really exciting and I'm really thankful, so thank you, Tommy. It meant a lot to me actually, because when she's like, I'm gonna send you something, I was like, you don't have to at all. That's not why I made the candle. But anyway, the second package has nothing to do with books, but everything to do with the second most important thing in my life, food. When my mom and I were in Nashville last year for my birthday, the most I guess memorable thing that I had to eat were, one, the ribs from Acme Feed and Seed. So if you go to Nashville, go get the ribs, the dry rubbed ribs from Acme Feed and Seed. And also at breakfast in the hotel that morning, one of the only things I could keep down, it's a story for another day, was I had a piece of toast and I put this jam on it. And this jam, I've been obsessing over this jam since September 2017. So, just arrived all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. Acme Feed and Seed espresso rub, so my mother can make me some either ribs or dry rubbed chicken. That would be so good. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. If you don't go to Nashville, at least do yourself a favor and order yourself some Acme Feed and Seed espresso rub, and if you don't cook, have someone dry roast you or roast you. I don't know. Ribs. I don't even really like ribs. Those are the only ribs I've ever had that I was like, yes. It's mainly because I don't like barbecue sauce. Roast you some ribs. Grill you some ribs. I don't know. Anyway. And let me open this with one hand because I'm talented. Mother, you got yourself some bubble wrap that actually pops. Waiting for this all day. The best jam I've ever had in my life. The Nashville Jam Company Apple Bourbon Jam. This is literally the best jam I've ever had in the entirety of my life. And I've been obsessing over it since September, almost an entire year. I talk about this at least once a week. Literally ready to plan a trip all the way back to Nashville just for some jam. Now I have it, and I'm about to have some for a very late breakfast. And by breakfast, I mean lunch. With some warm challah bread. I bought some challah bread yesterday because I just pictured this jam on the challah bread. I had it on like a really thick piece of like homemade bread. I love food. I want to go back to Nashville. Like this video if I should go back to Nashville in the near future. That's really all I wanted to talk about. Just really talked about food on a book vlog. Why am I like this? I haven't even started reading today. I was watching a Beyonce video when the package came. Oh, while I'm here, while we're talking about things that have nothing to do with anything, can we talk about Drake's new music video for a second? Aubrey Graham has personally attacked me, and I didn't sign up for this. The I'm Upset video, aka the Degrassi reunion. I don't even listen to Drake like that, but I can't stop watching this video. Unless you've known me from like middle school and high school, you probably don't know that Degrassi was my life, and I watched it absolutely every single day. And in fact, in high school, a lot of people referred to me as Liberty, and that was a little annoying because at the time she was pregnant, and I was like, can you please? I would be lying if I said that I didn't shed some tears. I did. And then at the end with the credits and the Degrassi theme song, I gotta go. I'm upset. Okay, so I know I haven't. I know I haven't checked in a little bit. Part of that is definitely the reason why also my voice keeps going in and out. It's been 4 days, and I'm still trying to recover from seeing Harry on Friday and post-concert sickness. But I am on page 147 of Call Me By Your Name, and I have officially arrived upon the peach scene. I don't know if I'm ready for this because in the movie it was a lot, and now that we're thrust into Elio's brain, pray for me, y'all. Wow, so finally, last night or very early this morning, I finished reading Call Me By Your Name, and I will talk about that a little later. It was anyway, so now I just started. I'm like a page into it. Dear Martin by Nick Stone. I'm hoping to breeze through this. If I don't get up for a few hours from my spot on the couch, I should be able to finish it within a day or two. I'm really excited to get into this. I've also poured a little batch of candles for my friend Ellen. They're just setting. They're just kind of like a smaller version of my For Forever candle. So yeah, that's where my day is at. Quick update. Sorry, I'm trying to eat my dinner. I just started eating dinner. Make sure it's not in my teeth. First things first, my mom just made the best like steak sandwich. I would say cheese steak, but there was no cheese. And it was like to make up because last week when we went to see Harry, in the sports complex, there's a little miniature version of Geno's. If you don't know what Geno's is, I mean everyone knows Geno's, right? It's like a famous cheesesteak shop in Philly. And what was the name? Oh, and the mini one. I'm the worst Philadelphian because I've never actually been to Geno's, but we went to the little one, and it was literally the worst thing that I'd ever had in my life. It felt like, it's gonna enrage some people, it felt like I was eating a dead cow, and I know I was eating a dead cow. Sorry. I'm not vegan, I'm not vegetarian at the moment, but it just tasted like animal. There was no seasoning, there was not even ketchup, so my mom and I needed to like recover from that. That's not what I came here to say, actually. But I just went on a tangent about food, and that says a lot about me as a person. It's a cat eating ice cream. What was I saying? Oh, I'm literally only like 6 pages into this book, and I'm livid. I'm so angry, and I don't know if I've been this angry like straight off the bat since The Hate U Give. So actually reading this right now when on the news they're talking about another like black teenage boy that was shot to death by cops is probably the worst idea. Lit. Hello, so another quick update. I have to keep putting this book down because it's making me really mad, but Sarah Jane is a queen, an icon, we stand forever, but I want to punch Jared so hard in the throat. trash. Anyway, I'm also watching a Periscope from Harry's first MSG show. It's about to go off. He's singing the chain right now. That is Law & Order SVU. So, pray for me. So hi, I've been out all day on to Jurassic World today, and so I've been reading, Dear Martin. I'm almost done, but it's been a little over 24 hours reading it, and I'm on page under 123, and
if I didn't get a rose, I would be absolutely devastated, just because of the fact that I put my heart out there.
I was not prepared for that.
I feel as if Becca didn't figure out the true core and who I really am.
This book's really hard to read, actually.
But I would definitely be completely shocked, that's for sure.
I mean, obviously that's its purpose, but especially right now, when
there absolutely is one guy here that has the potential.
this is literally in the news right now.
Jordan is not here.
It's hard.
Hello.
Hello. Guess who's still sick? It's me. And it didn't help that I spent my night at the Paramore concert last night. The concert was amazing. Waking up, coughing up phlegm, not so much. Anywho, last I checked in, I had just finished reading Dear Martin. And I haven't fully recovered, but what are you gonna do? Gotta move on. And I am moving on to Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. Sorry. I haven't started it yet because I don't have the energy to do anything, but it's been sitting on my lap. But I did open it and read the dedication, and I'm like, this is for all the colored girls. I see you. Thank you. I feel seen. I see you too, Justina. I know I haven't done the actual proper reviews of the last two books that I read, but I've been busy and sick, so I'll get around to it. I just don't want to. Usually I'll just not start reading the next book until I do the proper review of the last book. But we are coming to the end of June. That's crazy. So I'm trying to I'd like to finish this book before June is over. Okay. So today is the 27th, I believe, and I'm still reading Dread Nation. In fact, I am, excuse me, 75 pages into it, and I'm enjoying it thus far. I realized I didn't actually tell you what it's about in case you didn't know. From what I know so far, it's about basically the story of our main character. What is her name? Jane. Our main character, Jane. The story of basically what happens when the dead start to rise in the middle or aftermath of, in the middle of the Civil War. And when black people are then used to fight the dead. And it's the story of our main character, Jane, who goes to basically like a training school in Maryland. All of those things don't sound like they should go together, like the Civil War and essentially zombies, but here we are. As of right now, it hasn't really gotten too much into the action, but it works. And also there are some not nods, but like a lot of the things, there are some points and moments that are still very relevant to 2018 America, which is actually really sad. Alrighty, so I'm 159 pages into Dread Nation, and the action is finally starting to pick up. I feel like a lot of the first 100 and 140 something pages with sort of like a world building, character introduction, building, kind of like a slow burn, but like in a good way, sort of. This story really takes its time to get into the thick of things. That we're finally getting into some sketchy business, some action, and yeah, I'm really curious to figure out what's happening. I just want to state right now that whatever this little thing, this Catherine Jackson thing is, needs to stop. I'm not here for it. We're not getting in between my power couple, okay? A quick check-in. I think the last update I was talking about Catherine not getting between Jane and Jackson. No longer care. I don't care. I am on page 286 and my girl Jane has just hopped in the window of Gideon. Visions of Gideon, who I am trying really hard not to grow attached to, but I do think I like him. And I know I think in my last update I was talking about Catherine not coming between Jane and Jackson, and now I'm like, I don't even care. I don't care about either of them. I'm starting to, against my better judgment, ship Jane and Gideon. But I just have this nagging feeling in the back of my mind that he's going to betray me and break my heart. There's actually so much happening, but also like not a ton happening. The way this book is written, it's like, I feel like I'm really loud. It's like a very build up. It's not like a thrown right into a whole bunch of action, thrown right into like the climax of the story. I guess because it's like mostly like a mystery also, so we are building up and gathering clues, and I actually like that it's written that way. It has this like level of suspense that's stressing me out, but like I'm very invested in it, and it's very intriguing. I think the whole concept of the book the whole concept of the book is really intriguing and unique, and like I'm in it. I don't care that I'm still like, okay, I need something big to happen. Where's Jackson? Where's Catherine? What's happening? What is this? What is Summerland? What's going on? The anticipation is nerve-wracking but enjoyable, you know? Also, for some bizarre reason in my head, Visions of Gideon is Timothée Chalamet. I don't know how that happened. It was against my will. But she described him as basically tall, skinny white boy with dark hair. I'm like, Timmy. So, c'est la vie. Also, speaking of Visions of Gideon, I feel like he's going to be the source of some of these answers. We're in his bed chamber, his sleep chamber, is that what he referred to it as? In like the middle of the night for some reason. And he seems to be starting to give Jane some like insight into what's really going on at this place. I feel like he's going to like stop talking very soon and to, sir, I just need to know what's going on, please. Hiya, so today is the last day of June and I am about 50-ish pages shy of finishing Dread Nation. So obviously that's what I'm doing with my Saturday. Also Eclipse is on, so that's exciting. Arguably my favorite Twilight book. And I think it's my favorite Twilight movie too. Anyway, so like I said, I am about 50 pages shy of finishing. Don't tell me this is a Twilight marathon. Well, I'll be. Anyway, and so much has just happened, And I'm calling it now that this book is going to leave me on a cliffhanger, and I know there's a second book coming out, so I've heard. I don't know when it's coming out, so I'm going to be left on a cliffhanger, and then I'm going to be stressed about it probably until like 2019. When you think about it, it doesn't actually feel like that far away until you're actually waiting for something. I'm just going to sit down and binge until this is done. I've also today I haven't restarted the book, but I have picked The Girl with All the Gifts back up. I'm listening to it on Audible, so I've got 2 zombie books going at one time. Yeah, I actually really need to finish that because I want to listen. I downloaded Caravel to listen to it before I reread Legendary, only because since I read Caravel a couple months ago. When did I read Caravel? Whatever. I wanted to do Caravel inspired candles, but I didn't make notes when I was reading, so I just kind of want to like go over it again and just like pick up some things to incorporate into said candles, and then then I'll be able to start Legendary. So I have to finish listening to The Girl with All the Gifts so that I can make the space on my phone to download to put Caraval on my phone. I've already downloaded, like, bought the audiobook. So that's my plan for today. I also have to do some closing bits. The final art page for my bullet journal for this month. Awesome. Anyway, Eclipse. 1, let's ignore this blanket. 2, this is one of my favorite parts of the whole Twilight saga. I wish we had delved more into like the other background stories, specifically Alice's, but anyway, that's not why I'm here right now. I never mentioned before that and I'm actually laughing about it now. I love the fact that Jane is so drawn to visions of Gideon's intelligence, and every time she talks about it, I'm like, okay, but me, girl, same, because like that's the thing I find most attractive in a person, and a guy is like, I'm drawn to intelligence and being a well-spoken, like, articulate human being, as I say like 25 times. I just think it's funny, and every time she mentions it, I'm like, girl, same. This part where Rosalie bursts in the wedding dress, iconic. Hi, me again, and we're really building up to this big cliffhanger that I'm suspecting, but I'm at this part where Gideon's talking about the Shamblers and his predictions about what's about to unfold, and it really reminds me of Game of Thrones with the White Walkers like descending or ascending. What do they call the White Walkers like attacking the wall, and it's about to be very intense. Winter's coming, friends. Winter's coming. Okay, so I realized I never popped back in with the actual like reviews of the last 2 books that I read because I've just been not wanting to stop, right? So, Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. So if you don't know, for some bizarre reason, Call Me By Your Name is a story of Elio Perlman, who is this kid somewhere in northern Italy in the mid-80s. His father is a professor, and every summer they take a grad student into their home for the summer. This year it happens to be Oliver, in the movie portrayed by Armie Hammer. And this is basically the story of Elio and Oliver falling in love, and their summer in Italy, figuring out their feelings towards each other, what that means, what it's supposed to mean, what it can mean, and just especially in the 80s. It's basically just a very lush, atmospheric story of their summer somewhere in northern Italy. So, going into this book, I already knew what it was about. what was happening because I saw the movie, and the movie is very true to the book. I love the movie so much. I love Timothée Chalamet and Armie Hammer. I think their performances were absolutely beautiful. My friend Maggie and I are planning a Call Me By Your Name stan trip to Italy, to like the filming locations in Crema. I've been studying I've been studying Italian to prepare for said trip. I have 2 Call Me By Your Name inspired candles in my shop, links down below. So yeah, I was already a big fan of the story. So going into the book, I knew I was already going to love it. And I did. I very much did. It's beautifully written. It's just atmospheric and very lush, like I said. And just the thing is, the difference between the movie and the book is that the book is told through Elio's point of view, right? And Elio is a 17-year-old boy, right? So we're in his head while he's feeling all these things for Oliver, and I'm like, can someone get this boy some water because he is parched? The thirst. It's wild, man. But like, that being said, like, it's expected. Like I say, he's a 17-year-old boy feeling all these like sudden new feelings for someone, and it's like has that like that level like sort of like I don't want to say like forbidden romance, but like, you know, there's not a ton to say about the book. I think it's beautifully written. There's so many notable quotes and just moments, and I really wish that there was an alternate version from Oliver's point of view, so just kind of get that the same story but like his outlook of it. I just want to know what he was thinking and how he was feeling, and just, I don't know. So I can't wait to go to Italy and be Call Me By Your Name trash. I do want to listen to the audiobook, even though I think it might be a little weird now to listen to the book because Armie narrates it. So it might be weird to hear Elio's brain in Armie's voice, because reading it, I only heard Timmy's voice in my head. Moving on. So after that I read Dear Martin by Nick Stone. And this is... This book, this little whopper of a book, is the story of Justice, who is, I think he's 16, 17? This teenage kid. He's the top of his class at his predominantly white prep school. And he's just like an all-around, you know, good guy. And then he is wrongfully arrested by the cops for trying to help his ex-girlfriend get home safely, even though she's completely wasted. So after he is, you know, released without charges because he didn't do anything wrong, the whole experience just kind of like rattles him and sort of wakes him up to like the reality of race in America and the injustices of the race, and the fact that he was and will always be seen as this false perception of what young black guys are seen as in this country. So in an effort to try to deal with that and cope with that, and then, you know, try to rise above that, he starts writing letters in his journal to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I guess relaying his experience and then trying to incorporate Dr. King's teachings and ways into his life to, I guess, combat the fact that the people around him, the people that he thought were his friends, kind of view him, not all of them, as less than, and just see him as a stereotype as a skin color, as an animal in some senses. So and then it's just like, and then even more drama unfolds, and it becomes, it's intense, okay? I don't want to give too much of the story away, but I was hit by this book. It's 208 pages, and I spent almost all of them in tears, or just like really, really angry. And there were a lot of moments when I read the book in like 2 days. There was a chunk of time where I was reading this book in public, and I had to keep putting it down because I was getting irrationally angry at the people around me. I don't think I was prepared for how much this book would like hurt me. But it did, and it like not like hurt like, oh my god, this is the worst book, but obviously not. Just in the way that like, wow, okay. And I think the thing is, doesn't seem to be as hyped up as I think it should be. And that's most likely because we're still, most of like the book community and now mainstream media now are, because there's the movie coming out, still, you know, I say reeling from The Hate You Give. Rightfully so. It's an amazing, impactful book. And this is like the same vibe. But I really think we need to hype this one up just as much, because like I said in my my like mini review caption on my Bookstagram, like we're not gonna let these people rest, okay? We're gonna keep uplifting these stories because they're necessary. And the thing is, here's the thing. When I read The Hate You Give, there was a lot of me that related to Star. It's kind of almost easier to read like a book that's like tough like this from a girl's point of view. I don't know why that is. Maybe one, because I obviously have that in common with her. I can read as like more like empathetic in most cases. But I think this book is really important because it's from the point of view of a young black boy, right? And in a lot of the cases, they're the ones being targeted and gunned down and abused. So to hear, like, to like kind of read it from, I think I'm getting emotional. I think that's important. I think that's it's important to, you know, read from like the point of view of the victims, because like even in The Hate You Give, Star is reeling from Khalil's death, right? And in this book, Justice could have very well been Khalil, and almost was. And like I kept thinking while reading this book, thinking about this book and The Hate You Give, it's like people really think that like we're making this up, right? Like just reading like the different scenarios, whether it's conversations with Justice and like his best friend Manny, or their friends, just wow, and like the revelations that Justice had about his school squad. I think I've had a lot of those recently, and I don't know, I think like people think that when we're like, hey, racism is still a thing, it's not always like right in your face, but it's still like it's a thing, and hey, we're being taken out by people solely because of the color of our skin. and like the whole centuries of being being pushed down and oppressed, and it's still a thing, guys. I think people think we're making it up, but I feel like literature is a way to be like, hey, if so many people have these similar experiences, don't you think like it's actually happening? I don't know, I feel like maybe books, for me at least, have always been a way to like see other other perspectives. I feel like I'm rambling. I don't think I'm making sense, but Dear Martin was, it's important, guys. And I now want to go read everything that Nick Stone has written. I demand a Dear Martin movie. Don't let Hollywood rest. Don't let them think, okay, we got our one story. We gave them what they want. Okay, we'll get over it now. Absolutely not. I don't think any of that made sense. But read Dear Martin. This is added to the pile of books that I'm giving everyone that I know. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm very crooked right now. Okay, so I literally just finished reading Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. And I didn't know what to expect when going into this. So if you don't know, this book is basically the story of what happens when the dead start to rise in the middle of the Civil War. Our main character Jane was born 2 days before the dead started to rise in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The book takes place 17 years later, and it starts off, she is in a combat school where the government has put in place the Native and Negro Re-Education Act, basically training Native children and black children to fight the shamblers, as they're called in the story, and thus still basically working to build the country back up and protect the white people in the country. At her school in particular, which is like the all-girls version, obviously, basically the main goal as a girl in Miss Preston's school is to be able to become an attendant for a well-to-do family, which is basically a personal bodyguard that will protect your attendee, I suppose. My phone's ringing. Please ignore that. From not just shamblers, but also protect her virtue and whatnot. But Jane doesn't want that life. So basically Jane, another girl from her school, Catherine, and Jane's, I guess, ex, Jackson, are ripped from Baltimore and taken to this compound in Kansas where they have to basically deal with survivalists who are the one in charge, and two, trying to return the country to the state it was in before the war. Sounds very MAGA to me. Jane's only goal is to get out of there, help Jackson find his little sister, and get returned to her home in Kentucky. That doesn't really... Things don't go her way, because of course they don't in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, right? So, this book, like I said in the beginning, when I bought this book, one, I was on a binge of buying solely books written by authors of color, and just the whole premise just sounded really intriguing and unique to me. It's like historical fiction, it's also fantasy, there are zombies. I don't even read zombie books, just the whole premise of like a zombie apocalypse in the middle of the Civil War, or I guess, yeah, well, it happened in the middle of the Civil War, and like after that, and just like the whole country being in shambles, and it basically being up to this butt-kicking black girl to, you know, take down the shamblers and the corrupt government. It all just sounded very up my street. And this whole book was very, very up my street. I know I mentioned in the vlog part that it was sort of like a slow build where it wasn't as, for a lot of it, it wasn't as action-packed as I expected it to be. But that wasn't like a flaw to me. I appreciated the time really building up the world and the environment and getting to know, like, one, also really getting to know the characters and all the things that make them tick, and especially Jane. She's a very interesting person, but I don't know if I'm in the minority about that opinion, but I really liked that it took that time just like building up to some sort of action. It felt more like a mystery almost than like a high-packed, action-packed book, which is what I was expecting, and I'm sure that's where we're going in the next one. I just really like the story. I actually really liked that even though, like I said, Jackson is Jane's ex, and like of course there's still like some conflicting, confusing feelings, and there are also feelings for, or I guess an attraction to my boy Gideon, or as I've referred to him this whole time, Visions of Gideon. If you get that reference, A+. None of it's like truly acted on. That's not like a part of the plot too much. It's just like a side note, like, oh, you have pretty eyes. Oh, you're like really smart. That's so attractive. And I feel like I like that most of the, I guess, relationship bit was Jane's interaction and like change of relationship growth with Catherine. Also while I'm talking about both of these women, I don't know if it's like a legit thing, but it's heavily hinted that both of these girls are not heterosexual, whether they're bisexual, pansexual. Catherine sounds like she could possibly be asexual, and if we're throwing in an LGBT element to this novel, I stand, okay? I just really enjoyed reading this book. I am really irritated that I have to wait for a sequel, but that's the life that I lead. I really enjoy the way Justina Ireland writes. I also read this entire book in a southern accent, and like I said before, it is a like historical fiction novel, and it has to do with, like, it takes place after essentially the Civil War, and so things are still very intense, like racially. And even though this book takes place like 200 years ago, a lot of the feelings and the treatment of not just the Negroes, but also like the Native American character, Mr. Redfern, or even the mention of like the Chinese, it's all still very, very, very relevant. Like I mentioned, the survivalists are very alt-right, MAGA, conservative, awful humans that use the quote, there's the quote, I'm gonna paraphrase, will basically step on anyone to preserve their power. They manipulate the scripture. They have issues with immigrants, and just, it's all very 2018, which is really sad. There's a level about the book that even though it's direct, it's almost not it's almost like subtle, and that's kind of cool. Also, I really like Gideon a lot. I'm intrigued by his character, and I don't think that it's okay that we just like up and left off without me having answers about my boy Gideon. So that's the first thing I need in book 2. And I think that basically sums up my feelings about Dread Nation. I was pleasantly surprised by this book, and yeah, it was fun. So now I have to figure out what I'm going to read in July. I don't know how much reading I'm going to get done in July because for some bizarre reason I decided it'd be a fun idea to take part in Camp NaNoWriMo again and try to crank out a final 20,000 words for this novel. But I do know that I want to read The Bells by Danielle Clayton because one, I've been wanting to read it for a while, but also that was on my TBR for June. I just never got around to it. So this is the first thing I will be reading in July. I'm pretty sure after that I'm probably going to read Smoke in the Sun by Renee Athieh because I can't not. I've been putting it off for too long already. Another sequel I need to get to Legendary by Stephanie Garber, but I want to listen to Caraval. I downloaded Caraval on Audible. I know I just mentioned this in the vlog part, but I want to re-listen to Caraval just for like some candle ideas, and then I'm going to read Legendary. And if I can manage, or if I change my mind anyway, where I'm either going to read Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi and or Sweet Black Waves by Christina Perez, so we'll see. Anyway, that concludes my June Read With Me vlog, I guess. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. Let me know what you write this month and what you're reading, what you look forward to reading in July. All my places are down here, so you can follow me and I'll follow you back. And you can always see what I'm reading on my Instagram. My Bookstagram is linked down below. And I think I'm going to link my Goodreads also. And I'll see you very soon. Bye.